Okay, so AI sales and GDPR. While some databases claim to be GDPR compliant, they also customarily enforce a hefty layer of indemnities and expose users for any possible breaches rather than ensuring actual compliance. Ooh, that's a tricky question, right? So the correct answer to that is probably all the databases are somewhat GDPR compliant, right? But not entirely, right? And then the question is, how do you actually assess risk? Because when we talk about GDPR, and luckily I have some legal background, right? So you have to acquire the data in a legal way, but most importantly, you have to enable a person to remove the data from the system if they don't agree or don't want it to be there. And you have to remove that data, and then you have to report to the person that the data was removed. From the standpoint of sending, you have to make sure that the person that is receiving the email can opt out. So if you look at kind of AiSDR as a business or other AiSDRs, the questions you should be asking is, A, where are you getting your data? Usually, like those are some major data providers. In our case, it's Apollo, ZoomInfo, RocketReach. We also have kind of our own database, and we know, and then basically from there, you check, is this provider GDPR compliant? Do they have indemnities in their terms of service? Absolutely, right? But this is just common business practice. Like nobody wants to take a risk to be sued into bankruptcy, right? For a minor kind of violation triggered by one of the customers. But still, like the companies that claim to be GDPR compliant, they have to have a track record of how their data was acquired. The second question, and that you should check, is essentially whether there is a process in the company that you're working with and in the data provider they're working with to remove the data from the system, right? Because this is a requirement. I disconnected again for a second.
And you're back now, yeah.
Yeah, I'm back now. And then the last piece is essentially, is the AiSDR solution that you're using allowing for unsubscribes being included automatically in the links? And how do they process those, right? Because Google has updated their rules around unsubscribed links recently, and the link itself is not always enough. You also have to have it in a header so that it would be properly kind of highlighted in Gmail. And also depending on the countries, sometimes you can get away not with just saying like, hey, if you don't want to receive this email, just say no, right? So there are different options. You have to talk it through with the vendor that you're working. Generally, I'd say that the data that we're working with is GDPR compliant. And the reason I'm pretty confident about that is because I have discussed the question we just outlined with the vendors that we're working with.